Hi, my name's Phil. I like to talk about politics. So, what has the Tory Rwanda plan and winter fuel payments got in common? Well, they're linked by a steel-strong chain of Tory hypocrisy. James Cleverly, senior member of the previous Tory government and running to be Tory leader this time, and he was under that Tory government in cabinet under both Truss and Sunak, has said that Labour have no right to axe winter fuel payments. It's like, okay, there's an argument there, is there? Because they have no mandate to do so. No mandate to do so. What mandate did Liz Truss have to crash the pound, for example? You know, apart from the fact they're not being axed anyway, the winter fuel payments, because the most vulnerable are actually seeing their payments go up, as I discussed yesterday. Labour actually do have a mandate, but I'll get into that later. Let's look at Tory mandates first, because Cleverly was part of a government which spent almost all of its time implementing policies which genuinely had no mandate. And the Rwanda plan is one of the most obvious examples. The 2019 Conservative Party manifesto, which gave the Tories their mandate, said that they would, and this is a quote, would continue to grant asylum and support refugees fleeing persecution. The Rwanda plan is the opposite of this. It was also incredibly expensive. It was against a whole range of international and domestic laws, as explained by the Supreme Court. And yet, James Cleverly not only sat in the cabinet of a government who pursued this policy, not just without a mandate, the opposite of a mandate, he agreed to become Home Secretary and actually take the lead on it. The hypocrisy is breathtaking, frankly. And the hypocrisy over the Rwanda plan doesn't even end there. We've just had the news that as the Tories were literally legislating to declare Rwanda a safe country, they were also secretly concerned about the border skirmishes between Rwanda and DRC. They were standing up in Parliament to say how lovely and safe Rwanda is, no matter what the Supreme Court says, whilst knowing it was basically at war. The Rwanda plan and absolutely everything about it was the opposite of having a public mandate. Any Tory MP who supported moves like this, especially from within cabinet, because they will have had the full details. I mean, some backbench MPs, you could argue their own leadership would have been concealing things from them, particularly about the instability of the border between Rwanda and DRC. But any Tory, especially in cabinet, has absolutely no right to ever talk about public mandates again. But I'll do so anyway, because the mandate hypocrisy doesn't end there. The 2019 manifesto, it scaled back HS2 plans, but didn't cancel them. So the Tories had no mandate to cancel the HS2, did they? Their manifesto also boasted of a high-wage economy. So I would argue they had no mandate to cut public sector pay in real terms and urge wage restraint. There was a lot of talk of meeting net zero targets. So the Tories had no right to cancel net zero plans without at least replacing them with ones which would have met the same ambitions. In fact, the list of policies in the 2019 manifesto where the Tories in practice did the opposite is quite a long one, although none of them really reached the heights of hypocrisy of the Rwanda plan. Whereas there is nothing in the Labour manifesto which says they can't make winter fuel payments means tested, or even scrap them altogether. When it comes to budgets, the mandate is working within the lines you set yourself in the winning manifesto. Labour didn't promise to protect winter fuel payments for pensioners. However, the Tories did promise to maintain the pension triple lock in their 2019 manifesto, and then they broke that one. Because when it comes to budgets, it's known you don't have them detailed in the manifesto. The manifesto mostly says what they won't do. It says some things that they will as well, in terms of budgeting. As long as the government does what it says it will do and doesn't do what it says it won't do, then the mandate is covered for budget. But I will also say this, there is a line in the Labour manifesto that allows for this anyway. And there it is. The current budget must move into balance so that day-to-day costs are met by revenues and debt must be falling as a share of the economy by the 5th year of the forecast. Now, there are a lot of us on the left who don't subscribe to that economic model at all. We say, no, that's a silly thing to do. Plenty of economists say, no, you don't need to do that. However, we understand that Labour always have to promise this in order to win power, because most voters do expect that. They do subscribe to that economic model. And the fact of the matter is, Labour promised to bring the budget into balance immediately. He said current budget. So that meant Rachel Reeves's first ever budget would be brought immediately into balance. They promised it in the manifesto. Now, if the Tories have got a problem with the specific ways they're doing it, maybe they shouldn't have left such a massive hole in the balance sheet. And they certainly should not have concealed about £22 billion net of hole as well while they were at it. The Tories forced Labour to announce new tax and spend plans in their first budget because in order to comply with their own manifesto, Labour, because there's this roughly £22 billion of hole that they didn't know about, which is backed up by the ONS and the IFS now, they've actually had to change tax and spend plans. Their first budget was going to have to do that. The Tories forced that on them. So in actual fact, Labour do have a mandate to raise any tax or cut any expenditure which is not out of kilter with what they said in the manifesto. So in the manifesto, in terms of tax raising, they said, we're not going to raise national insurance, VAT or income tax. So they're out. But capital gains tax is fine. Inheritance tax is fine. Any other tax you can name is fine. In terms of cutting things, there were things they said they would boost spending in, and there were things they said they wouldn't cut. Beyond that, it's all fair game. Because their own manifesto says the budget must be brought into balance. That is their mandate. People can argue for or against specific ways in which Reeves is moving the budget into balance, absolutely. And they're more than welcome to suggest alternatives, as some have. Although I note that James Cleverly has not. But it is absolutely wrong to say Labour have no mandate for this when it is in line with a manifesto commitment and doesn't run contrary to any other line within that document. But that's for the majority of the public to argue. No Tory MP from the last Parliament can have the nerve to talk about public mandates when they ran roughshod over their own for almost 5 years. But there we are. Those are my thoughts. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe for further content and click the like button. You can also sign up for memberships if you'd like to support the channel further. Thanks for watching. Until next time, I'll see you later.